This episode is brought to you by the Thrive Tribe. Thrive Tribe is our all access pass to exclusive content, ad free episodes, a monthly newsletter, and much more. Check it out at chasingbrighter.com/Thrive Tribe. Welcome to Chasing Brighter, the podcast created as a guide to make midlife the best life. Are you ready to embrace the next chapter of your life with confidence and excitement? Join us each week as we bring you inspiring stories, expert interviews, and actionable tips to help you navigate the challenges and opportunities of midlife. Are you ready to chase brighter days ahead? Subscribe to Chasing Brighter now, and let's embark on this exciting journey together. Remember, your best life is just a listen away. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Today's episode, we are going to be talking about intentional self-care, building a sustainable wellness routine. And I cannot wait to talk through this, and I can't wait to put it in action. How often do you find yourself crashing, exhausted, overwhelmed, and turning to quick fixes for relief? That is a great question. I feel like I'm tapped in and tuned into self-care, but I can tell you during the holidays, I just want to blow it all off and have a glass of wine. What if self-care didn't just happen when we're burned out, but became a routine to help keep us grounded, nurtured, and energized every single day? And so that's what we want to talk to you guys about. Think about that kind of a world. Yeah, we want to just talk about shifting, right? Self-care from reactive to intentional and sustainable, which I think we're really good at. I really do think for most of my life, I was reactive with self-care. And I think that turned into emotional eating for me. And I think I've really turned that around over the last few years. But for a lot of us, that can be going to food, going to alcohol. I think when we are reactive in self-care, it's not always in healthy ways. And I think we all go through different stages of in our life, things might come up that really become so draining that they are exhausting and overwhelming and all consuming and causes us to maybe fall into that more reactive where we're like rewarding ourselves in these short-term quick fixes instead of you almost can't get ahead. So if you're at that place now or you find you're at that place when listening to this episode, this is what we want to talk to you guys about. So the first thing we need to talk through is what are the common barriers to self-care? So a lot of us maybe see obstacles or excuses that we face. I don't have time is number one. And I think that's usually the moment where if you get really busy with work or life or something is all consuming, maybe you're going through a difficult life stage, anything like that, where you just are all consuming and you don't have time. Keep in mind, self-care doesn't take hours. It can take 5 to 10 minutes. This is about finding ways to restore and energize and nurture you. Also, maybe and all of these, I know this could be my theme of 2025 is my obsession with limiting beliefs, but these are all limiting beliefs saying you don't have time, right? Or saying I feel guilty prioritizing myself, which I think I used to feel guilty, and reframing that. When I care for myself, I show up better for others. And finally, saying, I don't know where to start. I don't even know what to do. And when that happens, or if you're feeling that way, focus on one area. We're going to break it down into mind, body, and spirit. So focus on one area and take one small step. I've heard people talking so much now, trashing self-care, and they're saying self-care isn't getting your nails done, or self-care isn't a bubble bath and a spa day. But it could be for you because self-care is anything that intentionally restores and nurtures you. So if that is a bubble bath for you, if you are intentionally getting your nails done and you are intentionally fueling yourself, then that is self-care for you. I think there are common misconceptions that self-care is reactive. And sometimes we turn to it only when we're already depleted. And so that's really how I think about that analogy that we've used a lot, which is like what fills your cup. And when your cup being empty. So cup being empty is when you are depleted. And so the idea is not getting that low. It's like fuel in your car. So
Yeah.
this is where we want to keep that refilled more frequently so that you always have something, some energy stored for yourself so that you're not completely burnt out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the reason why this matters is because if we're not doing that, then we're going to get burnt out. We're going to get stressed out. We're going to make our lives more difficult. And life is short here on earth, and we want to make it as happy as possible. On Chasing Brighter, the whole idea is us chasing joy, chasing brightness, chasing a brighter version of ourselves. And
Yeah.
it's hard to chase when you don't have any fuel left in the tank. And so a lot of this is how do you keep that nurtured in a way that isn't just fits and starts, feast and famine. So think about this. Self-care isn't selfish. It's how we show up better for ourselves and others.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I want to transition to 4 steps that we encourage you to take because we're talking about your self-care routine being intentional and sustainable. Okay. So the first step is what we've been talking about. Identify what nurtures you. That's going to look different for everybody. Think about your mind, body, and spirit. So when we think about mind, that can be journaling, reading, learning something new. Reading for Kelly and I, reading fuels us so much. And we dabble in the journaling, which helps us. But I love that for the mind. For our body, sleep. Listen to season 1 and our obsession with sleep. Movement, nutrition. We're always looking for ways to optimize our health with nutrition. And we've really gotten into strength training and strength and agility training. And then spirit, we talk about a lot meditation, mindfulness, getting out in nature, a lot. We've talked a lot about creativity over the years. And for some people, that might be faith based practices. So, in this exercise of identifying what nurtures you, ask yourself what activities leave me feeling energized, grounded, or peaceful? What drains me or feels like I'm forcing self care? And avoid comparison here because your self care is unique. I've talked about that before when I see people ski and their skiing families, and I'm like, oh, like my skiing families. That is not a physical body self care for Jessica. That would not be something that fuels me, but walking, I love a walk. You love a walk, right? That is something that fuels me.
And the reason I love this idea of like really thinking about what activities leave you energized is we are all a work in progress and those are going to change over life. I used to love, as you remember, Jesse, you know what used to fill my cup when I was like 12 years old? Going to the mall.
Tennis. I was
I could shop till I drop. I could have lived at the mall. I loved the mall. I could just be there all day looking at every single thing. I have about 45 minutes nowadays.
yeah,
So, granted, it
it was
may
before
not be a
online
surprise that
shopping.
I don't share the same interests as my 12-year-old self, but things change. Try stuff on too. I think that's another part of this is like the mindfulness of doing something. Is it energizing you? Manicures, everyone thinks manicures are not everyone, but some people perceive manicures as being self-care. I don't. It is a chore. It is not something that like fills my cup. I don't find it relaxing. I'm using it to check a box, get the nails done. It's like another thing. And so part of this is thinking about what are those things that do truly energize you, leave you grounded and feeling peaceful. Sometimes for me, it's even a nap. Sometimes I
Yeah.
love a good nap. My body feels tired. It is amazing what that can do.
But
Think about that.
I love, you said this in a Superwoman Diaries episode, how you were doing acupuncture and it was really great. But then it started feeling like a chore because you had to drive there, you have to spend time there, and you have to come back. That ends up being 3 hours of your time which then creates other stress. So it
Yeah.
becomes depleting and not energizing. And so I think that's so great. Like, too, even when we talk about comparison, or this is what I think should be my self care routine,
Yeah.
sometimes doesn't work out. And maybe it's something else that's not so, oh, wow, acupuncture would be so amazing. But instead, you go walk for 10 minutes and that ends up being more energizing
Yes.
than
Yes.
the 3-hour thing you were doing.
Yes. Yeah. And as we identify these activities that are leaving us feeling energized and grounded and peaceful. So let's walk through this, right? So we've got this list. The idea is using that and thinking about that. And how do you build a ritual around them that
Hmm.
can give you that rest and replenishment that you need?
Yeah.
Because using it as a ritual helps make it a habit, not an afterthought. So it's something that you are doing. Remember, what we're trying to do is we don't want to empty the tank. We're trying to keep it replenished on a more regular basis.
Yeah. An example of a daily ritual, I sign up, I go to classes. So for my body self care, I go to Pilates. I have carved it out in my schedule Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And so that has become a routine for me. Tuesday, Thursday, I do my strength training with my trainer. So that is already carved out into my schedule. It's in my calendar. Everybody knows about it. And that is non negotiable. Other examples can be waking up, doing a meditation, right? A weekly walk in nature. Another non negotiable for me, or another example of ritual, is I read before bed. I always read before bed. Another example would be maybe Sunday meal prep. If you are planning your meals or prepping them on Sundays, that's an example.
I love I love my weekly planning even
Hmm. Yeah.
as a ritual. My morning routine, I was listening to Jerry Seinfeld was on a late show and he was talking about how coffee is like his best friend and the morning routine, how like coffee is the having coffee in the morning is like the most amazing thing. It is like the highlight of his day and it's like the beginning of the day before all this shit happens. And so he was like, coffee is like the greatest thing on earth. It
Yeah.
comes to you in the morning and it greets you with joy and happiness and all is right in the world. And so my coffee time is definitely that. But also, I think to our points about, I love the concept of micro rest moments. So
Hmm.
this is about taking deep breaths between tasks. It's about stepping away from the screen for a few minutes. It might be just walking around the house between calls. It's taking these moments and you might do them, but I think this is also where it's this mindfulness piece where it's, I'm going to take this and I need this moment. And I'm grateful that I can take this moment and really identifying it as a way that you're using to replenish yourself and rest your brain or whatever it may be.
Yeah. And we set up systems around it. My new office is right by what we call here the Pittman Wash Trail.
Mhm.
It's like literally right there. And so I packed a pair of old sneakers and I have them in my office with a pair of socks. And so I've talked about having an intention of walking more for 2025. And so I'm hoping that when I have a break between sessions, not being a perfectionist, but just sticking on my sneakers. And even if it's a 2-minute walk, but having the intention to do that. And a third point for us is setting boundaries to protect your energies. Without boundaries, self care gets pushed aside for other demands. I used to do it all the time. So that's why I talked about putting it in my calendar. It is in my paper calendar that I go to Pilates. So I cannot schedule clients during that time. And also, we talk a lot about saying no. So you can tell people, oh, I can't do that right now because I am going to a workout class. Or just that when you have the intention, say you're going to do it, we also need to set boundaries around it. So you're not just going to like shift it aside and not do it anymore. You're protecting your time. Right. And so we encourage you to schedule self-care like you would any important appointment. So that's what I did. I started making an appointment for myself. I did that a couple years ago, and that has helped me. You can also create tech boundaries, limit your own screen time, set digital detox windows where you don't have your phone with you, put your phone on do not disturb. I think we talk a lot about, Kelly, you call it the death scrolling. But it's
Yes.
like that. It's like, oh, I really would love to meditate, but I don't have time, but I do go on Instagram 5 hours a day. So it's okay. Maybe we need to put the phone away so we can be more intentional.
Um, yes, I think that's a great point. And I think even the boundaries of sometimes I have been going to Instagram when I want to laugh because there are some
Hmm.
funny reels. But setting boundaries around that. I'm going to sit for 2 minutes and I'm just going to watch this until I get a good laugh. And then I'm going to move away from my screen. So, really being mindful of how you are putting controls in place that are helping you achieve these goals that you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have one of the boundaries, I think a difficult boundary is like exercising, which is really, I think, an important part of my own self care routine. And when work comes up, I tend to be more quick to cancel my exercise plans. Or I can't tell you how many times in the morning or I wake up and I'm like, okay, this morning I'm going to get on the treadmill right before everything starts. And then I'm like drinking my coffee on the couch instead. There's a balance here because even though now I say that, I was like, well, that's maybe self care too. But really setting those boundaries for yourself so you can put these controls in place to make sure that you are going to be successful.
Coffee could be your self care at that moment, but I think it's about intention. So if you promised yourself you were going to work out and then you bailed on yourself, that doesn't feel good. But if you sit and think and be like, okay, what do I really need? So over the break, I worked out way less, but I decided I had an intentional talk with myself and I wanted to sleep as much as possible during winter break. And so I allowed myself to sleep in and miss classes and just relish in that because I just tapped into what my body needed. And we have to remind ourselves that boundaries are an act of self respect and they allow us to give our best energy where it matters to us.
We've talked about the first item, which is identifying what nurtures you. Second one is creating rituals. Third is setting boundaries. And the fourth and final tip we have here is to start small and be consistent. So, consistent beats perfection every day, right? So, a 5 minute meditation practice daily is more impactful than an occasional 1 hour long session.
That's why I love Yoga by Cassandra,
Oh, yeah.
Kassandra. She's really great. She's on
Oh,
YouTube. And so she
yes.
talks
Yes.
about 10
Beautiful
minutes.
backgrounds
Yes, she's in
too.
Canada. She talks about how she does a lot of 10-minute yogas a day. She has a lot of 10 and 15-minute yoga sessions because she says that that's more important than a long 1 hour practice. And steps that can help you build consistently is just choosing 1 to 2 small self-care habits to focus on. So this has taken me, I would probably say 7 years. I would say it's been 7 or 8 years of me noticing that I was making everyone else happy and not looking at what I needed. And so when I talk about, oh, my self-care's dialed in, this is something that has taken me 7 to 8 years to do. But start with choosing 1 to small self-care habits to focus on. Think about your mind, your body, your spirit. And then you can pair those new habits with existing ones. If you love coffee, set your journal on your coffee pot, right? I'm going to journal, great. I'm going to do gratitude journaling while I'm sipping my coffee. And that's an example of habit stacking. Finally, be flexible and forgiving. I used to erase Pilates on my calendar and schedule clients anyway. This has been, again, a long journey. And so just be flexible, forgive yourself. It's all about tapping in. How did that feel for me? You know what? I needed the money. I needed to make the appointment. So I did it. No, that felt terrible. I was resentful the whole time and wished I would have gone to class, right? So just we're always growing, changing, learning. And ask yourself, what's one small act of self-care that you can add to your routine this week? And just start there.
I love that, Jess. I was going to follow up on that too, because one of the things that, in terms of consistency, I was actually reading a post of a fitness professional that I follow, was that instead of talking about perfection, where we spend so much time even doing like an amazing 1 hour workout routine every week or whatever it is, along with whatever we may be doing. But he was saying that doing one, doing 3 sets of something once a week versus doing 1 set of something twice a week, doing 1 set of something twice a week is better for you. So it's like doing these, trying to be consistent and fitting more things in multiple times during the week rather than jamming it all in one.
Yeah.
Something to think about too. I know that we really want you all to think about those 4 tips. We will too. I can't wait to continue to put this stuff into action in the new year. And because we are all a work in progress. Our challenge for all of you is really, we want to invite you to identify a self-care activity, mind, body, and spirit. Schedule one small ritual into your week and set a boundary to protect that self-care time. So I love that. You'll be seeing, Jesse and I will be sharing our updates as well on social media. And as you go into that and you think about building your self-care plan. So this is, just take a couple minutes and think about what you want your self-care plan to be. Maybe maybe it doesn't be for the year, it doesn't have to be for the month, maybe it's for the week. Like figure out what you want your self-care plan to be intentional about it. And think about one activity, one small ritual that you can schedule, and what a boundary could be. How do you feel when you intentionally care for yourself? Think about that as you're going through that and you're working through your self-care plan, and notice the difference and build from there. Because this is a lot of self-care is really about intention, right, Jess?
When you build intentional self-care into your life, you're not just surviving, you're thriving. Start small, be consistent, and watch how it transforms your energy, clarity, and happiness.
Thanks for listening today. Don't forget to subscribe so you can hear our latest episodes as soon as they drop.
If you loved today's episode, share with a friend. Come visit us on Instagram or Facebook. Make sure to give us a follow. We have lots of giveaways. If you want to know more about Kelly and I, read our blogs, find more tips, tools, and resources, check that out at chasingbrighter.com. Thanks.